All right, so welcome to the 2021 Construction Apprenticeship Fair. I'm Marianne Ryan with Kirkwood's Workplace Learning Connection. This is our 8th year. We've partnered with the Cedar Rapids and Iowa City Building Trades Council to host the career fair. The first time we've done it virtually. A huge thanks to the Skilled Trades Planning Committee for recording videos and being flexible throughout the year to develop virtual job shadows. We're fortunate to have 11 different skilled trades professionals on the webinar today to help answer your questions. Feel free to type your questions in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen at any time. Our first speaker today is John Delaney, the training coordinator for Five Rivers Carpenters, JATC. He will provide an overview of the common steps it takes to get into the construction industry as an apprentice and get started with a great career.
Good morning. My name is John Delaney, training coordinator here at the Carpenters Apprenticeship. And I'm sure you're all aware of what an apprenticeship is. It's the earn while you learn model, but what does that really mean? So basically, we're a different style of learning. We don't compete with colleges. We're just a different way to go. Some people may be qualified for college, but would rather join the workforce and earn a good living and an education as well, rather than go to college and maybe rack up a lot of debt. We are the building trades apprenticeships. Apprenticeship is a word that's been tossed around for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And as I stated earlier, it's just a different way of learning an occupation. In all of our apprenticeships, there is no cost to you. In fact, while you're learning on the job, you're actually going to earn, and I mean earn, a good paycheck, good wages, good benefits, pension, and healthcare as well. One thing I would keep in mind, in the ICANN pamphlet you may have received, all of our wages are listed as well as our contact information. Don't let those wages be your deciding factor as to what trade you might want to enter. We're all within a few dollars of each other, but we all earn a good living for ourselves and our families. So don't let that wage be your deciding factor. I would say we all have certain interests in life. So consider those interests and maybe choose an occupation that not only you like, but something you're good at. Not just something you love. For instance, I love to hunt and fish, but I would go broke if I had to do that for a living because I'm not very good at it. So we're here today, excuse me, for your future. Please have as many questions as you can. There is no wrong question, and we're happy to entertain those questions at this point for you. Okay.
All right, thank you for that, John. So we just do some quick introductions so you can see all the panelists and who is here representing their trades today. So if we could start with Rick. You're on mute.
I would like to screen share real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rick. We're just doing a quick introduction right now.
The introductions. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm Rick Becker with the Sheet Metal Workers. I'm broadcasting live from our training center here. Just glad to be here and hope to answer any questions about the sheet metal trade down the road. Thank you.
Okay. Dustin, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, let me get the video here. So hi, I'm Dustin Ashmore. I'm the training coordinator over here at Local 125 Plumbers and Pipefitters. We train pipe fitters, plumbers, and HVAC service technicians. And yeah, we're located here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, off of J Street. So,
All right, Derek?
My name is Derek Mullins. I'm a representative for Glazers Local 581 and 1075. We have multiple locations in the Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, and down in the Quad Cities area for training.
And Justine?
Hi, my name is Justine Golder. I'm the training coordinator for the painters, drywall finishers, and glazers. We do have training in, like Derek said, the Des Moines, Cedar Rapids, and Rock Island, Illinois area.
Daniel?
Good morning. My name is Daniel Bark. I am the full-time recruiter for the Millwrights. We have offices in Cedar Rapids, and our training center is in Bettendorf, Iowa. Thank you.
Joey?
Joey Papura. I'm the training coordinator, apprenticeship coordinator over at Labor's Local 43 here in Cedar Rapids. On it.
All right, Seth? Seth? How about Paul?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Miller. I'm the apprenticeship coordinator for Heat and Frost Insulators, Local 81.
Steve?
Hi, I'm Steve Colson. I'm with Ironworkers Local 89, and we're based out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Mike?
Morning, I'm Mike Carson, training director for the electricians in the Cedar Rapids, Iowa City area. We train electricians for residential, low voltage, commercial, and industrial areas of the electrical industry.
Okay. Then John, I know you spoke earlier, but maybe just a quick.
Yeah, my name's John Delaney, and I'm the training coordinator of the Carpenters Apprenticeship here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Matt, did you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Matt Conrady. I am an instructor here at the Carpenters Training Center in Cedar Rapids. I take care of all the in-school learning parts.
Chris? Chris here with us? All right. So let's see if we have any questions. I don't see any questions yet in the question and answer, the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. If you do have any questions for any of the trades or just any general questions, please feel free to type those in the chat and we will get to those. And it looks like right now we will have Dustin share for our ironwork, or sorry, the plumbers and pipe fitters.
all right, hi. I'm Dustin Ashmore again. I'm with the Local 125 Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Training Center here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We train plumbers, pipe fitters, and HVAC service technicians. We have a 5-year apprenticeship program, and we used to do a residential service program or residential tech, but mostly right now it's just a 5-year program. Doesn't matter if you're HVAC, plumber, or pipe fitter. It's 5 years. You start out at 40% of journeyman scale. And like a lot of these other trades, we get raises every 6 months. There's other criteria that goes with that. You have to have your hours, the right amount of hours worked in classroom time, but it's right at 5% raise every 6 months. And let's see, when you turn out, everybody has a mechanical license and a plumbing license. And when I say that, I mean the plumbers get their plumbing license, and pipe fitters and HVAC service technicians get their mechanical license with the state of Iowa. A lot of work, if you're not familiar with what a pipe fitter does, before I got in, I had no idea what a pipe fitter was. I just knew I liked to weld and I like to build things. So pipe fitters do a lot of industrial process piping as well as commercial piping. One tool that we use a lot is welding. So we don't just weld as pipe fitters, but it's a tool that we use a lot in the process of installing piping. So I spent a lot of my apprenticeship down at the University of Iowa. So I'd be down in the sub basements doing the mechanical rooms, piping up chillers, air handling units, doing low pressure steam. On the commercial side, also, a lot of school remodels, new schools going up. We did the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning piping. And with that, I mean the glycol, again, hot water. Or you might find yourself out at ADM or Cargill doing processed stainless steel piping for cornstarch, corn syrup, again, steam, condensate. Or at Procter and Gamble running sanitary tubing. So that's kind of a Cliff Notes version of, pipe fitter work. Plumbers, they do a lot of the commercial piping as far as water distribution, sanitary sewer lines inside the commercial buildings. They work a lot with copper, cast iron, and even, a lot of people don't think about it, but roof drains, a lot of the roof drains for these commercial buildings, they run in cast iron and PVC. So that's a lot of work that plumbers do as well. Underground piping for sewer and water to service these buildings. And, the HVAC service technicians, it's not just, fixing an air conditioner at a house or a furnace, So a lot of our contractors, they do commercial HVAC service work. So it's going to be, air handling units on top of, say, Best Buy, Hy-Vee. Some of our contractors specialize in fixing the coolers in grocery stores, so the guys will be working on those. A lot of stuff with, I guess you would say, fast food restaurants, again, fixing the ice makers, ice cream machines, again, rooftop units. But then you get into the specialty side too of the HVAC service work with ammonia systems. So ammonia is the best refrigerant known to man, but it's dangerous too. So you see that more on industrial scale at giant flash freezers at maybe a packing house, meat packing plant, or at the Heinz soup kitchen over there off of C Avenue. So these giant coolers where they drive forklifts and everything into, a lot of those are cooled by ammonia systems. And there's several contractors in the area that specialize in that. So in our apprenticeship program, we teach apprentices about the ammonia systems. And, the thing with the piping trades, it's so vast, and every contractor in our area does everything a little bit different, so you might work for a contractor that specializes in stainless steel sanitary tubing. You might work for one that does a lot of commercial piping, stick welding, carbon steel, chilled water, and glycol lines in schools and hospitals. You might work for one that travels across Iowa doing ammonia system installations. Or, after you turn out, you might get hooked up with a specialty contractor, say based out of Chicago, doing valve repair and seat ring replacements in nuclear power plants, on the valves right off the nuclear reactor, so the industry is very broad. Same with a lot of these other trades here. There's many different avenues that you could go. So that's all I have for now. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. It was a lot of information in a short amount of time.
All right, well, thanks, Dustin. So far, we have a general question for everybody. So they're asking, what are the requirements to be accepted into an apprenticeship program, including age, high school grades, etc.?
Is that just anybody? Okay, go
Yep.
ahead and answer it there.
Yep.
Steve's got his hand up there.
Oh, Steve, yeah.
Well, for the iron workers, we have not as many requirements as other trades. The three main ones that we have is you have to be at least 18 years old. Second is you got to have a high school education, so a high school diploma or equivalency. And third, you got to be able to pass a drug screening and physical. But other than that, that's what the apprenticeship's for. We teach you everything you need to know about ironwork in the 3 years of our program.
Yeah, and I would, agree with what Steve just said. I think a lot of these apprenticeship programs require the same basic requirements. One thing I will add to that is in ours, it states that you have to have a means of getting to and from the job. It doesn't state you have to have a license, but you have to have a way to get to the job. That's on you. So there are times we run into problems with that, as somebody will sign up and then they find out they're not getting a free ride to work. So.
Anything else to add?
We require the NCRC exam. So you gotta be familiar with that and have a passing grade, either bronze, silver, or better, gold, platinum. But I think everybody probably does that also.
Yep. Looks like Joey from the laborers put an answer in here too. High school or GED, 18 years old, drug screening, and driver's license for laborers as well.
For the carpenters, we also ask for your transcripts, not just a high school diploma. Reason being is we don't just look at your grades, we look at your attendance as well. If you're not willing to participate in high school, why would we think you're going to participate with our contractors as well as our apprenticeship? So keep that in mind. Attendance and tardiness is looked at as well.
And then I think it was Rick that mentioned the NCRC. Could you explain what that is?
Somebody else take that one.
I can answer that. The NCRC is it's a National Career Readiness Certification, and they offer it through and sorry, I was having some issues. NCRC offers it through it's offered through Iowa Workforce Development. It's a test that you take, and it tests math skills, ability to find information and retain it. Just some of the things that we need to know whether or not you can do in order to come into our trades.
All right, thanks for that. I don't see any other questions at the moment. So, Paul, if you'd like to present.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Miller. I'm the Apprenticeship Coordinator with Heat and Frost Insulators, Local 81. We do mechanical insulation. The plumbers and pipe fitters would put the piping in, or the sheet metal workers would put in the duct work, and we would come behind them and insulate those items. We are located, our training center is in Rock Island, Illinois. Our charter for our local is out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, which where most of the schools are in this building trades program. We cover the eastern third of Iowa. Cedar Rapids, we have a contractor, Iowa, Illinois Taylor Insulation, which is located in Cedar Rapids, is our biggest contractor. They employ most of our members. Gagnon is another contractor that we work with, and they do work in the Cedar Rapids also area. So we have probably a third of our members live in the Cedar Rapids area. And then the others live in the Quad City area and or the surrounding area. Our apprenticeship program is a 4-year program. We come to training in Rock Island 2 to 3 days a month for 9 months. July and August are open because that's when a lot of the schoolwork is going, and the contractors need as much manpower as possible to get those school jobs done, because there's a short window a lot of times on those school projects to get them back up and running for the schools to start up. And then December, we don't do any training in December for the fact that the holidays, I feel that everybody could use as much income to cover holiday expenses, because we do not get paid when we come to training here. Our pay rate starts out, a first-year apprentice starts out at 50% of a journeyman's wage, which is currently $17.41 for a first-year apprentice starting in our trade. And then journey people are making just over $30 an hour. And then there's benefits on top of that. So our total package for our journeyman is just over $53 an hour with all the benefits, which all the trades are pretty comparable for the most part. We all have those benefit packages and stuff like that. If you do choose to get into a construction trade, I would suggest trying your hardest to get into one of the union trades. So I can show you some examples. I can walk around with my laptop here and kind of show you some examples, like some of the insulation that is utilized, because not many people know what mechanical insulators do. Here's some copper piping with some insulation on it. A little section is all. Normally this would be completely insulated. Back here in the back, there's a lot of it. You can see that is utilized. A lot of the insulation, the valves, it all helps save energy. And in today's world, the more we can save energy, the better off we're going to be. So there's, going to be a long-term demand for insulators in new buildings, existing buildings, maintenance insulation, and things like that. If you like working with hand tools, a lot of our work is done with hand tools. Taking a straight piece of insulation, something like this, and then cutting it to make the 90. There's some of the things that we would do. And then the jacketing, we'd use different types of jacketing to protect the insulation. And that's starting out with just a straight piece of aluminum jacketing, or could be PVC. And with our layouts, our training, we're able to form that to fit the different types of fittings and things that we come across out in the field. I think I'm not sure if I said it, but a 4-year program. Every year you bump up 10% in wages. Second year 60%, third year 70%, fourth year is 80%, and then after the fourth year we have a mock-up test out, and you become a journey person once you complete that mock-up test out. Our requirements are high school graduate or GED, 18 years of age. Then we ask for copies of school transcripts and 3 letters of recommendation from other than family. So like friends, teachers, coaches, anybody could write you a letter of recommendation telling why you would make a good candidate for our apprenticeship program. So yeah, mechanical installation. I'm a second year second generation insulator. My dad was an insulator. That's how I got into it. But yeah, there's a lot of new people that come in that they have no idea what it is. So you don't need to have any knowledge. That's what we train. That's why we have apprenticeship programs. That's pretty much, rundown. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Marion?
Thanks, Paul, for that.
Yeah.
I don't see any questions right now in the Q&A, but just a reminder that you can put those in there at any time and we'll get those answered. And now we have Mike to tell us about being an electrician.
All right, let's see. I need to share screen. Marianne, it says the host disabled participant screen sharing.
There you go.
Okay. That one right there. All right, does everybody see some pictures there? All right, so I'm just going to go through some of the disciplines, some of the job tasks that we do as electricians. So these are just some pictures I grabbed off the internet. So basically, there's a gentleman with some arc flash protective equipment on, and he's taking a meter reading, either of resistance or voltage or amperage, and he's in a control panel there. That would be on the lighter end of what we do, but very technical with overload protection and relays and things of that nature. Looks like there's some programmable logic controllers there. Maybe he's inside of an HVAC unit, which is heating, ventilating, air conditioning. Here you see some 500 MCM. So this is some larger cable that's coming in to feed a service to a facility. So some very heavy wire. You can see some conduits in the background there. That would be on the heavier end of what we do. Here's some electricians are installing electrical service equipment. So you can see some heavy duty cable tray up above with some large wire feeders on top, and those will eventually come down into that equipment they're setting. So that's some high voltage equipment, switchgear and transformers there. So they're able to change the voltage from probably 4160 down to 480 volt 3-phase. So some heavy equipment, industrial or commercial setting. Here's a facility as well where you can see the large conduits coming into the top of a junction box. You can see the large wires coming out, and those will be going down into these different circuit breakers. So those are probably 4160 volt circuit breakers, which will then go to distribution panels to different areas of this facility. So all the conduit and boxes and wiring and equipment all has to be set and terminated properly. See some gentlemen here putting in PVC plastic piping in a slab. So you can see the re-rod that the iron workers would put on the deck. So if this is a multi-story building, every floor has conduits, maybe some waste piping in it that the plumbers would put in, and then the re-rod from the iron workers, and then they would pour the concrete. And of course, laborers, carpenters would all be involved with that as well. So one thing is electricians, we don't just put in outlets and receptacles. This is a large piping system that all goes in underground from the earliest dirt work from the operating engineers. We're there digging holes and installing conduit systems to different areas of a facility, whether they're power feeders or whether they're outlying lighting systems or security systems for that facility, whatever it might be. Then you might have the pipe fitters might be putting in some steam underground as well, along with us, just depends. So here you can see, if you want to look at that maze, that conduit will all be buried by concrete. So that's in a big equipment area where the heavy duty incoming switchgear will be, that will go to all the distribution systems. I believe this is a hospital. So tons and tons of conduit systems. And then for all those miles of conduit, there'll be many more miles of wiring and equipment that will be set for the power distribution and communication and security and fire alarm systems within that facility. So, we talked about being technical. reading blueprints and making sure all this equipment, all these conduits in the right place. Once the conduit's poured, we can't change our mind. So everything has to be right where it's supposed to be. We work in a lot of different facilities, just like your other presenters here talked about, commercial office buildings, schools and universities. So, you know, from elementary all the way up to university buildings, hospitals, whether it's, you know, like St. Luke's Mercy, the Children's Hospital at the University of Iowa, all those types of facilities, retail stores, warehousing and production facilities. So whether that's an Amazon warehouse or Worley warehouse, all those different types of places, data centers. So over in Des Moines right now, you would see something similar to this in the data centers where Facebook and Google and Microsoft all have, Apple all have data centers where everything you do on the internet is stored and in big data storage centers. So we do a lot of data centers, manufacturing plants. So all the places that you students are used to seeing around here, whether it's Ingredion or Cargill or General Mills, Quaker Oats, Diamond V, Oral-B, all the different types of places, ADM, we work in all those plants. And then of course, residential homes and facilities and green energy, alternate energy facilities as well. And this would be on the lighter end, obviously smaller wire, smaller equipment, but we do all that as well. So we'll work anywhere from, you know, analog signals, 4 to 20 milliamp signals, up to 13,800 volt systems. So a wide spectrum, a wide variety of the type of systems and equipment that we work on. This could also be a building automation system, but these are little programmable logic controllers that have inputs and outputs, and they control process automation systems in a plant or any kind of production facility, or in a large building, again, building automation. So you're used to seeing lighting systems that turn on and off automatically depending on occupancy, heating systems that turn on and off based on occupancy and time of day, daylight harvesting systems, all those types of things that save energy in our customers' facilities. Just a few things that we work on. You saw some conduit systems there. So all of our wiring systems have to be protected. So we talked about math. There's a lot of math in figuring out our conduit systems, similar to what Pipefitters would do with their piping systems. Power distribution systems, you saw some pictures with that for incoming services, distribution, transformers. So we have a lot of theory in our school, AC and DC theory, a lot of math, lighting and powering, building automation systems in the industrial facilities, all the electric motors, thousands of them in the motor control centers, the automated motor control systems, mentioned programmable logic controllers, instrumentation, installation, and calibration. Those are systems that we work on with the pipe fitters because that's air and electricity combined to make valves and systems open and close. And these automated systems in the factories, security systems, whether those are door security systems or alarm systems, fire alarm systems is our work as well, fiber optic and data systems, solar photovoltaic systems is electrical work, wind turbines, all the medium voltage cables that come down from the wind turbine generator to the transformers. So really just a wide variety of work that we do. And yeah, ours is a 5-year apprenticeship training program. And we start out at 45% of scale. So our apprentices would start out at about $16.50 an hour, and journeyman scale right now is going to be about $37 an hour with all the benefits, pensions, and, health and welfare. So anyway, a little bit about what we do in the electrical industry.
All right, thank you for that, Mike. We do have a question. I don't believe I'm not sure who to direct it to, but it says, is there an operating engineer apprenticeship nearby? Does anybody know the answer to that?
I believe it's in Indianola, but they do have one. They cover Eastern Iowa, but their training center, I believe, is in Indianola, Iowa. But their information should be in that Built by Pros pamphlet or the ICANN brochure.
Okay, thank you. And up next, I believe we have Chris.
Hey, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
My name is Chris Bush. I'm with Bricklayers and Allied Craftworkers. And we have a 4-year apprentice program. Our requirements are very similar to everyone else's in that you have to be 18 years old. You got to have a GED or a high school diploma, and then you have to pass our drug test. We also use the NCRC as well as part of our entrance exam, just to get a feel for where you're at. But bricklayers, we, like the other trades have discussed, have a wide variety of tasks that we perform. The bricklayers themselves, typically they lay brick, block, stone, they build schools, malls, hospitals, clinics, things like that. But we also have what's called PCC, which is pointing, caulking, and cleaning. So our pointers, they go in and they do historical restoration. They remove old or damaged lentils, which is the steel that carries the brick over openings, windows and doors and things like that. They'll go in and patch or replace stone or terracotta. They'll take an old building and make it look new again. But then we also have the first C, which is caulking. Our caulkers go and they fill our expansion joints and control joints on the exteriors of buildings. They'll seal around penetrations, windows and doors and things like that. But they also do a wide variety of other masonry related tasks where they might put air and vapor barrier on the walls between our block and brick. They may do epoxy crack injection for concrete repair. They might put sealants on concrete floors or decking in parking ramps. So like I said, they do a wide variety of masonry related tasks. And then we also have cleaners. Cleaners go in and they remove mortar residue after the bricklayers get done building, or they will, clean staining that might happen to a masonry building or product. And they'll do that through a variety of methods. They might use a chemical product. They might use, sand blasting or a pressure washer. There was actually some people in Des Moines not too long ago that were cleaning some limestone on a big building in downtown Des Moines, and they were using 8-inch lasers to burn the carbon off the stone in order to make it look clean again. So those are just a few of the tasks that we might have that we train for in our training center. But what we do is all hand done. We'll build elevator shafts and stair towers that might go up 100 or 200 feet in the air. And it's all hand built. I'm going to take you out into our training center and show you what some of our apprentices are doing. Let me turn my camera around. This is part of our training that we provide. As you can see, they're all doing it by hand, one brick or block at a time. They're trying to learn how to run a level, build little projects. These are what we would call our pre-job apprentices. So they have not been out in the field. They like some of the other trades have mentioned, they come in without any experience. We teach them how to, hold a trowel, how to use a level. This is an 8-week class. So with our apprenticeship, you come in, typically we'll try and hire you as a helper, where you'll learn a little bit of our trade. You'll run a saw, you'll dump some grout, things like that. And then you'll come in and go through this 8 weeks training that starts in March. It ends in April. And then you go out in the field as a first-year apprentice. Like a lot of the other trades have mentioned, our apprentices start out at 55% of journeyman scale. You get 100% of the benefits. And it goes up pretty quickly. with ours, you get a 5% increase that first 6 months. And then the second 6 months, you get a 10% increase, and then it goes up 10% each year after that. But during those 4 years, you come back in for 4 weeks of training each year, where we teach you how to read blueprints and lay out buildings and build fireplaces and lay patterned stone. And we get you all the training that you need to be, a qualified journeyman bricklayer. And at the end of the day, once you get your card, you can take that card anywhere in the continental United States or Canada, and you'll know exactly how much you're going to get paid. You'll know, you'll be able to contact one person to get a job, from multiple employers. It's just, it's a solid place to be when you become a journey worker in any of these trades. And then the other thing I want to mention about the apprenticeships, our apprenticeships in particular, is that you are guaranteed a progressive wage increase, right? So it's all written out before you get there, how much you're going to increase, when you're going to get those increases, and what's required to get those increases, right? I think the plumbers mentioned you have to have a certain number of hours in the field. You also have to have a certain number of hours in the classroom in order to advance to that next level. But all the requirements that you need to meet in order to advance to the next level, and you know exactly how much you're going to get paid when you complete those things. There's no guessing, there's no favoritism, there's it's all black and white. So that's a little bit about what we do and how it works. If anybody's got any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
All right, thanks, Chris. So it looks like Rick from the sheet metal workers is up next.
Hello, I'm Rick Becker with the Sheet Metal Workers. Mike McCullough is our training coordinator, so I'm filling in for him today. So I'll try to answer any questions as best as I can. Behind me, I've set up a table that shows some of our current projects that our apprentices are working on. Currently, we do an afternoon training session. At our last union meeting, we just approved to hire full-time training staff, so instructors. So we're going to be changing our type of training to a daytime school probably just next year. So I have a little bit of PowerPoint and a video to share. So I'm going to do the screen share right away. Let me find the right one. Share this screen. So we are Sheet Metal Workers Local 263, just here in Cedar Rapids in Iowa City. Our union office, we rent from the IBW building. It's at 1211 Wiley Boulevard Southwest. That's where we take care of the business for our members, and that's where I work out of. Our training facility is a separate building. It's the training facilities at 566th Avenue Southwest. So we're right here in town. That's the phone number you can contact with. Our training center was built around 2003. It was built for sheet metal workers by for sole purpose of training sheet metal apprenticeship programs. That's the only thing we do in this building. So everything that we've done, I know they say that the apprenticeship programs are free to the apprentices. That's true, but actually we, the journeymen, are paying for the classes, the facilities, the trainers, everything that's involved with the apprenticeship program. We give back, and we allocate those funds at our union meetings. Our Sheet Metal International Training Institute has a little video here. So let me see if that'll pull up. Let me play it. It's just a few minutes. So some of the questions that I've been asked is, what are the advantages of a sheet metal education? You know, it's a skilled trade that you learn. We pretty much fabricate everything that we install. So it starts out in a flat sheet of iron, and we cut it, form it, build it into different products. There's a lot of involved in sheet metal work. You have to work with different types of metals, galvanized, black iron, copper, stainless steels. A lot of different welding is a big part. So our apprenticeship breaks down to a first year of a core training program where you learn a little bit about everything in the sheet metal trade. And then you go into more of a block training for commercial HVAC installations, industrial installations, architectural service. So residential program, we have 5 years training for the commercial program, and then we do a 3-year apprenticeship for residential. Residential programs more in line of residential service. You do the installations of the ductwork like in a home or condominiums. A lot of the residential work's becoming to be a lot larger projects. They're tending to build bigger and larger condominiums and low-income housing type facilities. So we're sort of always adapting our training to take advantage of what the needs of the industry are. When you get through a 5-year or 3-year training program, you become a journeyman, and pretty much you have job placement throughout your apprenticeship. You get placed in you earn while you learn. So that's where the income respect comes in. But as you can turn out as a journeyman, there's a lot of different advanced opportunities you can do. Like in the video, they showed foreman, CAD people, training instructor, you know, it just goes on and on. There's different advancement opportunities within the trade. Being a salesman, opening your own business. A lot of our own contractors, pretty much all of our contractors that we work for served an apprenticeship and worked their way through the ranks. So current demand for sheet metal workers is high. When I first got into the trade, I think we had about 150 members in the organization. So we weren't that big 30 some years ago. And really the fear there was technology was really taking off in our sheet metal trade. And we were seeing loss of man hours because of the technology. So, but the demand for sheet metal work has outpaced what the technology has replaced hours wise. So we're utilizing that technology and moving into different markets. So we're up over 500 people right now, and we are hiring pretty much year round. We take applications year round. We do our interviews first Wednesday of every month, and usually that next Thursday we are placing and hiring apprentices. Our schooling goes from September to April. So if you get hired in July, you're not going to start any school till September. But if you get hired in October, November, December, you're basically going to school that same week. Let me go back. As you can see, that behind me is just a few of the projects that our apprentices have been working on this week. This is the gupper spout. This would be more of an architectural type fitting. A lot of times you'll see gutters on the side of the building, and they'll have these stops to collect the water, and then your gutter spouting will go down to direct the water away from the building. So that goes in line with our sheet metal roofing, and architectural guys do a lot of this work. They work with the roofers quite a bit. You'll see fittings like this. This is your standard ductwork that's coming off a furnace. So this is going to supply air. There's different type fittings that are connected with connectors. So a lot of their fittings are done like this. We'll have situations where they're going to reduce in size or move. So we have to learn to adapt our ductwork. Not everything's straight. When we get into the industrial work at some of the plants, like General Mills, Quaker Oats, They'll do a lot more different type of materials. Usually it's stainless, black iron. This would be like for grain spouting, you know, the product would go through, so it has to be food grade. So they'll use stainless steel because it's easier to clean and it won't have bacteria in it. So that's different type of materials they use. Welding is a very important part of our trade. So you're going to be pretty much get a taste of everything as far as the layout and the installation of the product. So there's a lot to take in on that. That's pretty much it. One of the best things about the trade is, you know, you do accomplish and this is pretty much all the trades. I think it's an important work. It's work that needs to be done. We realized, you know, during the COVID time that we were essential workers. There's a lot of hospital work. I've done work in hospital surgery rooms where, you know, you have to have the air supply in that room be positive, and clean, and, you know, they don't want to have any type of infections when they're doing a surgery or something like that. So the hospital work is real important in this area. The university work, we get a lot of it. Anywhere from the schools to food processing plants that are important. So, you know, you take a lot of pride in your work, and sometimes you can go out to dinner at a restaurant or something and you'll see some ductwork that's exposed, and sometimes you can say, hey, I actually worked at this restaurant and installed this duct. So you take a little bit of pride in the work that you do because, you know, it's out there and you get to see it. So with that, I will pass it on to the next.
All right, thanks for that, Rick. So it looks like we have a question that came in. Will a journeyman continue to take training classes? We do have a couple of answers that were typed in. The Insulators offer journeyman training at times. Laborers, it says upgrades and recertifications or job contractor request when needed. Looks like Matt's typing in an answer. Does anybody else, or Matt, do you want to unmute or continue typing? Does anybody else want to throw anything in there about that question?
I can just add real quick, I'm filling in for our training coordinator, and he was just sent to do some additional training. So the training never stops for our journeyman. And then we also are required to have the HVAC mechanical license for the state of Iowa. And that's always requiring continuing education classes to maintain those licenses. And a lot of our guys will be like a commercial installer, and they'll want to have to take some welding classes to get certified to be on a welding project. So for the most part, all of the training, even as journeymen, we take care of that. We'll sponsor the classes and they're taken care of. So there's no cost to the journeyman for our training, but we always encourage journeymen to take advanced courses and journeyman classes. So.
Okay. And then Steve had your hand raised. Sorry about that.
Yeah, for the ironworkers, we do have journeyman upgrade classes as well. Our contractors do require us to have 10 hours of journeyman upgrades a year, but that's pretty easily taken care of. There are certain courses or classes that are recertifications that need to be done every few years, like CPR, first aid, fork truck, aerial lifts. So 10 years is really not too much.
And then Derek mentioned we're consistently offering training, what's that for painters and glaziers, because our trades are always evolving. So anything else to add?
I'd just like to add, the millwrights are continually, like all the other trades, we are continually upgrading our journeyman training. Mechatronics is becoming a big thing for the millwrights, the setting and leveling and aligning of robots. We have training for that. Our rigging, we're always constantly upgrading our rigging. You have to have a certification to work on our nuclear stations. But also one thing we have now is that we have a multi-million-dollar training center in Las Vegas. It's kind of like the centrally located training for all the unions in the United Brotherhood of Carpenters. And our millwrights go there sometimes once a year to train on the new aspects of our trade. So yes, journeyman upgrading is a big thing for the millwright. Thank you.
Okay. And then Matt mentioned carpenters offer several different classes throughout the year. We're always keeping up with the changes in our industry. Anything else to add? We've got about 3 minutes left, so we'll probably just either end
Just
with
real
this
quick,
question.
also safety training is real essential. That's a big part of our journeyman training because we want to make sure everybody on the job site stays safe. So we have OSHA upgrade classes, OSHA 30 classes. Safety training is continuous within the trade to make sure that everybody's safe on the job site.
All right. Anything else to add? All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. Just a reminder that we teachers and students, we had sent out the playlist of all the videos for all the different trades that may answer some of your questions. We also sent out some materials. You should have received something actually in the campus mail, an insert with information about all the different trades, as well as an ICANN booklet that should have information to contact anybody that is here and learn more about their trades. So thank you again for joining us and have a wonderful day.
Are you going to try to turn it off, Marianne, or maybe at least stop the recording?
Good point.